What's up guys, you're watching Jay's 2 Cents, and today we're going to talk about something that you tend to handle and fondle and maybe get a little bit intimate with and sometimes gets downright dirty at your computer. No, we're talking about mechanical key switches. Get your mind out of the gutter, you pervert. So today's video has been brought to you by CM Storm, which is Cooler Master's gaming line of PC peripherals. It's really cool stuff. So you definitely want to give those guys a big thanks for supplying me the equipment and the touchpad that I'm about to show you to be able to educate you on exactly what all the different switches mean. Now when it comes to gaming keyboards, there's nothing as nice as finding that keyboard that perfectly matches you. That one that feels just right, it's got the right weight, it's got the right sound, and a lot of people seem to think that mechanical switches is something new when it comes to PC gaming and peripherals. But I'm here to tell you that it's not. Gaming keyboards are not new when it comes to mechanical switches. In fact, the mechanical switches have been around for decades when it comes to computer parts and computer components. They've been around since the 80s, and over time, manufacturers found cheaper ways to cut costs and cut parts and really get cheap when it comes to keyboard generation and keyboard manufacturing, because for the most part people just use keyboards to input data. But now, as we've evolved into gamers, we've decided to bring back the mechanical switches to our keyboards, and over the last couple of years it's been getting very confusing on making keyboard purchases because there's so many options out there. People get confused and they get a little bit overwhelmed because they don't know what all these different switches mean. Now what I've got in my hand right here is a little keypad with 6 different colors of Cherry MX switches. Now before we get into the different tactile feedback and the actuation points and all the other lingo and jargon that we can talk about when it comes to Cherry MX switches, let's go ahead and talk about what the differences are between a mechanical switch and a membrane switch. Now membrane keyboards are very basic. You've got your keycap, and you've got a spring under there which makes it go up and down, and when you push down on the key, it pushes on a rubber dome that will flatten out, and it will make a connection or a bridge between a little circuit underneath that key that tells a piece of electronic to say, hey, the user has just pushed key Y or key T or A or whatever it may be. Now mechanical switches, on the other hand, you have your keycap that moves up and down on a spring, but you actually have a mechanical mechanism in there that moves back and forth to make a connection with that circuitry. So instead of having the rubber dome and all the feedback of the rubber and just dealing with a circuit board, you have a mechanical switch actually clicking back and forth in there, making that connection. Now one of the things that really sets mechanical switches apart from membrane switches is the activation point. The activation point on a membrane switch is when the key is fully depressed, because you're pushing that key down and you're flattening out that dome and making the connection on the circuit board inside of the keyboard. When it comes to mechanical switches, the connection is made inside the switch. So not only do you, in most cases, not have to push the key all the way down, in many cases the key doesn't even have to come all the way back up before you can make another key press and have it register inside your computer. So what happens with new mechanical keyboard owners, or someone who's never owned or typed on a mechanical keyboard, is they tend to push down on the key way too hard because they're used to having to push the key all the way down to flatten out that rubber dome inside of a membrane keypad. Now with mechanical switches, that's not the case. You can actually push the key about halfway down and let it come about halfway up, and the actuation point is about in the middle of the whole total movement of the key. So you don't have to sit there and push the key all the way down. You can just kind of feather it and push it, right around a sweet spot. But where that sweet spot is on every single switch is a bit different. So we've talked about membranes. Let's go ahead and talk about the mechanical keypad and what it is you need to know with the different colors. Now there's a couple of things that you're going to want to familiarize yourself with really good, really deep and intimate. I mean, we're talking really intimate when it comes to your mechanical keyboard. You know what I'm saying? The first thing you want to get to know is the weight of the switch, or the actuation weight of the switch, and that's always measured in grams. But there's also the description of the actuation of the switch. You've got smooth, you've got audible click, tactile bump, and they all really describe the way the switch feels as well as the switch sounds. Now I'm going to do my best in this video to really describe to you what it is you get here with these different switches, even though you can't feel it. Some of them you can hear, some of them you cannot. Now I'm going to go through each one of these keys right now, and I'm going to give you the description of these particular switches by color as they're described in cmuniversity.net, which is Cooler Master's awesome website giving you all sorts of information about different types of peripherals and arming you with knowledge just like I'm doing today. So make sure you go and check out that website. Now the most common switch you'll find in mechanical keyboards is the Cherry MX Blue. This is the same switch that you find in almost all Razer keyboards. You can find them in Corsair, you can find them in CM Storm, you can find them in SteelSeries. They're very, very common. Now the Cherry MX Blue has a 50-gram switch, and as you could hear, it is described as an audible click with a tactile bump. Now what that means is you have the click, and you have, at the point of that click, a bump. So you physically feel the button go over a hump of some sort. It overcomes a little resistance, and that's when you get the click. So that's a Cherry MX Blue. Now the next switch on here is the Cherry MX Brown. This is becoming a much more popular switch lately because it gives you the same tactile bump as the Cherry MX Blue, but it does it without the audible click. I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. Now the next key on the top here is the Cherry MX Red, and this is probably quickly becoming one of the fastest growing switches and most widely used switches between mechanical keyboards because they offer you a nice feel, but there's no tactile hump or bump, and there's no audible click. It's just one smooth motion back and forth. Now the way the Cherry MX Red is described is 45-gram actuation weight with a smooth linear motion. I'll go ahead and demonstrate that now. As you can see, there is no hump and no noise. Now a lot of people tend to confuse the Cherry MX Red as being a loud switch because they come from a membrane keyboard, and as I mentioned earlier in this video, membrane keyboards require typically a harder push and a full compression of the key, which sounds like this. So people will mistake that sound as being the switch, but if you actually let the switch be the only motion, this is what it sounds like. What you're hearing is the switch bottoming out. That's what most people tend to do with mechanical keyboards until they get used to them and start typing a little bit lighter. Now the Cherry MX Green is pretty much exclusive to the Cooler Master line of keyboards, but we'll go ahead and demonstrate that for you now. It is basically the exact same switch as the Blue, only it has an 80-gram activation weight versus a 50-gram actuation weight. So it is quite a bit heavier of a switch. So you have to push it a little bit harder. And because of that, you get a little bit different sound on the click. This is Cherry MX Green. This is Blue. Green, Blue. I'm going to go back and forth. I want you to listen. The green has a little bit deeper sound than the blue. The blue is a little bit higher. The green's a little bit lower. It might be hard to pick up on the mic, but take my word for it, it's a little bit different sound. And it is definitely a lot harder to press. Now the next key that we have here is the Cherry MX Clear. Now the Cherry MX Clear essentially is the same switch as the Brown, only it has a 55-gram actuation weight versus a 45-gram actuation weight of the Brown. So it's the same switch, it just takes a little bit more force to activate. And just like the Brown, it has the tactile bump and it has no audible click. As you can see right here, you can hear the fact that it has that bump, but it doesn't click like the Blue or the Green. Blue and Green, Brown, or Clear. And here's Brown. So it's got a hump, and you can actually hear the hump, but it doesn't click like Blue and Green. Now the last key we have on here is the Cherry MX Black. And it's essentially the exact same switch as the Red, only it has a 60-gram actuation weight versus a 45-gram of the Red. And just like the Red, it's advertised as smooth linear, no click, no tactile hump. Check it out. Perfectly smooth, no hump, like the Clear has a hump, and the Green has a click. Now this is a really cool tool that gives you a really good idea of what it is that mechanical keys are actually doing. Now of course I can only bring you so much experience through the power of a video here on YouTube. But hopefully this video has shed some light on what mechanical key switches are, how they work, and how they're classified. Now the most common switches, as I mentioned, that you're going to find are going to be Blue, Brown, and Red. And on the bottom you've got the Green, which is going to be exclusive to Cooler Master, Clear, and Black. More companies are starting to use Black now because I think they just like the way it sounds, maybe, I'm not sure. Oh, and last but not least, if you want to own one of these, you can go to Cooler Master's website and you can buy this for $15. But here's the cool part about this. You're going, 15 bucks? Why do I want this little keypad for 15 bucks? What am I going to do with it? You're going to take it, you're going to play with it. The keypad, guys. the keypad. Family show. Family show. Stop giggling. Okay. You're going to take this and you're going to determine which key it is you like. You're then going to go over to Cooler Master. If you buy a Cooler Master keyboard, they're going to give you a $15 credit if you show them proof of purchase of this keypad. So in the end, you get the keyboard for the same price, and you get to keep the little keypad and show all your friends, and you get to be the cool guy that has the keypad that really doesn't do anything. But I think it's totally worth it, because the only way you can make an informed decision, honestly, is to try them all out. Guys, I really hope this video has helped you understand mechanical keyboards, because it can be definitely very hard to make that decision when it comes to mechanical keyboards. There's just 6 keys is a lot, because you have to feel them all out. And I wanted to bring you this video to give you the information and the education that you need to arm yourself with being a smart buyer, especially with Christmas coming around. And we've got so much stuff we're getting ready to review on the channel. We've got the Cooler Master Stealth Mechanical Keyboard. We've got the Quickfire Ultimate Mechanical Keyboard. This is a brown switch. This is a red switch. I've also got the K70 video that I've already done, and hopefully we'll be doing more keyboards in the future, making you guys a smart holiday buyer this season. So if you guys have enjoyed this video and you think this video will help anybody, you know what to do with it. You can hit that share button. And if you stumbled across my channel, check out some of my other videos, and I certainly hope you stick around. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.